He does some work for the production studio that I work at.
Okay.
And one of my coworkers heard that I was going to London, so she was like, well, you have to connect to Stuart. And then we were just like gabbing away, talking. And then he was
Or
like,
he was gabbing away.
sure. No, but the thing is that one thing about that, like I'll see a gabber and I gab back. So we were back and forth. And yeah, he's just been very, very hospitable.
He's such a wonderful man. I've got so much time for Stuart.
Yeah, it's a good.
We've known each other for many years now.
That's nice.
So no, I was really appreciative when he suggested that we do this because yeah, it's fun. Not that you even know what you're doing, but
Sure. No, I have no
but
idea.
that's all right.
No,
it's
that's
just like minor point. So yeah, I mean the nature of this podcast started as it was originally called Makers, and then we were going to interview people that make stuff. And my understanding is that you make comedy, but you're a comedian. But it's kind of podcast has developed. It's now called Characters, and
Nice.
it's kind of by nature an exploration, I think. And in essence, we just hopefully just have a great chat. And then if people can latch onto something that is helpful for them, then brilliant. But the first season goes out on Thursday. The first season is finished and cut.
Okay.
That starts going out on Thursday, and then this season will start coming out in December.
Okay.
So you've got quite a nice bit of runway and stuff that we've got. So,
Sure.
So yeah, but we're in good shape. It might be slightly odd, come to think of it, Ben, that this comes out in the boiling hot sun when it is December.
Sure.
But maybe we can skip that.
Neither here nor there.
That's just pretend we're in some.
We're in Ibiza, as you guys say.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Good. Good. Is that you made that for your grandma?
How did you know?
Oh my gosh, that is so sweet.
I almost remember. I think I almost remember drawing it.
Oh.
But
That is.
but not quite. But yeah, I remember the bottle of stuff, and I can't spell favourite, and I probably still can't. So
favorite.
Faderit.
You really tried your best.
Faderit.
That's your favorite drink.
That is your Faderit drink.
And you're right. That was her favorite drink, I'm sure.
Of course it was.
Obviously.
We've literally just met.
Totally.
So tell me about your creativity.
Yes, my creativity. Yeah, that's a great question. So I've always loved being creative, obviously. I would write stories. I would make, different plays for me and my 3 little brothers to be a part of when I was at home. And I've always wanted to act. That was the first thing I wanted to do, was act. I would literally find these casting calls for Disney Channel, like when I was 8 years old, and I would drag my mom to take me to Manhattan to audition, and then it was always a scammer or something. I would find it in some, super shady website. And then after a while, my mom was like, listen, you should be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. It's so hackneyed almost, the whole immigrant daughter story of having to stifle your creativity. But I don't know, I'm stubborn, so I still pushed through. I started making films when I was in high school.
Okay.
The first film that I made actually was a 10-minute film, and then we went on Christmas break, and we came back, and our school had cleaned up the servers, and my whole film was gone.
Oh, no.
Which was devastating. I felt like there were all these different things happening. But yeah, I kept on persevering. I made some more films when I was in college. I kind of abandoned a good part of my creativity. I think I just got very, into studying film and critiquing it. But I wasn't creating as much as I would have liked. I still look back on those 4 years and I'm like, how did I do that? It was just so, I think that time of your life where you're trying to figure out who you are and you're conforming a lot. But as soon as I came out of college, I basically, my third eye was open and I was like, I have to start making films again. And so I made a short film that played at some festivals around 2019, 2020. And I was like, that's really exciting. I got to make something and people got to see it. My parents got to see it. And then I thought, okay, sure, I'm making things, but I still want to perform. I haven't performed since I was little. And so, yeah, I guess I started putting together an event series, which was me microdosing performance because I had a microphone and I was hosting, and talking to people. It was an event series for Afrobeats. So I would put together a panel. I'd have up and coming Afrobeats artists come, DJ sets. So it was this almost quarterly event series. I started to pick up some traction and I just really enjoyed having an audience and being able to tell a story and hear what other people have to say. So basically you in a way. And then I said, okay, let me just go for it. Came up with my first comedy show. Okay, even before the comedy show thing, because comedy was always something I wanted to do, but I was really scared to do it. And so my friend had a 2-night comedy show happening last spring, and I was going to attend. I already got tickets to attend. And then about a week and a half before the show, one of the comics stepped out. And she came to me and was like, I think you should replace the comic. And I was just obviously shoulder up, like, oh, I don't know if I should be that. I don't even know what I would say. And she's like, whatever, it's just us. We'll be on stage. And so I came up with something like a 10-minute spiel, if you will. We did it for 2 nights and it was the best feeling ever. It was so cathartic. It felt so healing for my inner child, something that I didn't really get to express for so long, and just being able to be silly and be myself on a stage. And yeah, that's when I started thinking I want to make comedy shows as well. And so I started doing that. And about a few months later, I did my first show on the same stage. People came, and that was exciting. And yeah, I've been performing ever since.
Wow.
That was long.
Well, no, that was perfect. So in what ways might you still be a bit childish?
Oh, in what ways am I childish? I am literally such a child. I can't stop. I don't know what's going on with my brain. I think I'm naturally really curious. And my friend actually last week, she said, oh, I think you're a new soul. Like, I think I've been here before, but I think you just came here to this earth. Like, I think I'm just experiencing things constantly for the first time and still getting super excited by it. So I think in that way, I'm a child. I started taking clown classes a couple years ago. I don't know what that was. My mom she was like, I'm done with you. We like sent you to college and now you're enrolled in clown school and we just don't know, whatever. But that was super exciting because it taught me to lean into my inner child and things that would tickle me, even if it's really stupid. I love like really stupid humor, if that makes sense, or things that are just, so just instinctual, But I think there's also something really smart and, I don't know, cathartic about finding the thing that tickles you, not because it's something that people expect to be funny or that it has a bigger meaning, because the bigger meaning could be found. That's art. People are willing to interpret things however they want. But as long as you feel like you're enjoying it and you're doing something that you enjoy, why not?
Oh, amazing. So is it kind of farce comedy that interests you? The comedy that is farce.
That's fast comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah, in ways. I feel like I'm trying to think of, when I grew up, the Superbads, the Judd Apatow, Will Ferrell movies, those,
right. Yeah.
I always thought were so funny. I remember when This Is the End came out, that was 2013, so relatively recently. It was just, I just love joke, inside joke, even if I'm not into it, but I know that it made them laugh, so that I'm laughing because they're laughing, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like I just love things that are really silly, but at the same time, I love Succession, which I think is also silly, but not in the same way that Monty Python would be silly,
right.
But I think those people are so hilarious. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you do know.
Yeah, I guess I do know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've mentioned her a couple of times. Tell me about your inner child.
Tell me about my inner child. So she is very mischievous. She loves attention. She loves meeting people and seeing how they feel and how she feels with them. She's clumsy. She doesn't really know what she's doing half the time, but she just goes with the flow. I'm figuring her out every single day, but I'm tickled by her. She's fun. And I think that my inner child, I'm here, I'm traveling currently, I'm based in New York. And I think that in New York, which I love, that's where I'm from, it's very hustle and bustle and grind. And I started losing my inner child a little bit just when it came to being in the industry, having my day job and going after work to go to an open mic or perform a show or produce and blah, blah, blah. And I just felt so burnt out. And I felt like my creativity was getting stifled as well. And so I was like, I have to flee the country immediately. And I have to just book a 1-month trip somewhere else and figure out who she is. And so this past month, I've been only committed to enjoying myself. I've been very hedonistic this entire time. I'm eating all the foods, I'm drinking, I'm going out, I'm seeing friends, I'm meeting new people, and I'm feeling kind of silly. So yeah.
Amazing. Oh, well, I mean, it's a real pleasure to have you in on this side of the pond.
This side of the pond,
This
isn't it,
this side of the
babes?
pond, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
pleasure.
Brenna. Yeah, this
An
side.
absolute pleasure in it.
You're gonna go back with like the best London accent
Oh,
impressions. Great.
I'm gonna be insufferable. The amount of times I'm signing my emails XX, and my boss is like, okay. I'm like, sorry, we'll get to it when I can, X. They're like, okay. It's so bad.
Just with the times. What are you sad about?
Oh, what am I sad about? That's a great transition. What am I sad about? Well, the state of the world, that makes me sad constantly. It feels like there's a constant dissonance between my priorities and the bigger issues happening. So that makes me sad. I would say that I'm pretty hard on myself when it comes to what I'm doing. I'm always thinking I'm not doing enough or I'm not pushing myself as much as I should be. And so sometimes there's this guilt that comes with being a creative and not knowing what lane I'm supposed to choose. 1 minute I'm a producer, the next minute I'm writing, next minute I'm acting, and then I get in this cycle of being sad about me being sad about that, because then that prevents me from, being an artist, being so. Okay, I think the bigger thing I'm sad about is that art is really art and business. And to be a really great artist is one thing, but to be like an artist that, can sustain their life being an artist, you have to be a really good business person and have a pulse on the culture and trends and what's marketable. And I think that is stifling creativity beyond. I think that people have become so, attuned to what their brand is. And I think that that's just killing creativity. And that actually makes me really bummed out, because I think that, I enjoyed making things a lot more when I didn't have to think about the followings or what was trendy or what people cared about. It's just a bummer, but that's capitalism. Yeah.
So when does that affect your work? When is it difficult, and when does it stop you? Because as a fellow creative, I know it can.
Yeah. I think it's constantly affecting me, and I have to unlearn a lot of it. I have to make the conscious effort to keep on creating things, even if I know that I don't know what I'm doing. and talking to people and not feeling alone. I think that community is really big. And my mom, who I've mentioned several times, who ironically, even though I'm like, you didn't want me to be a creative before, and now she's completely flipped the script and she's telling everyone she always wanted to be a performer. And I'm like, okay. But I go to her a lot for comfort because she really gives me, a macro perspective of, you're too young to be that stressed out about any of this. It's just not the end all be all. And then I'm like, you're right. It's important. It's not to delegitimize the fact that it's important, but I have my health. I have my family. I have a community, people that love me. I live in New York. I'm like, hello. So perspective has been really big. And leaving, I think, as I mentioned, the New York scene, especially when it comes to comedy and performance, it's so central to all of that. So I think being in the center of all of it makes you lose sight of all the bigger things. So yeah, it's been important to pull myself away.
A very good trip for you. Opportune time. Your mother sounds like a very sensible person.
She is.
What is your relationship with envy?
God. Envy. I hate her so much. She is actually, can you curse? I'm not gonna curse.
Please do.
But she's a bitch. For real. I started feeling envy more recently, if we're being honest. I don't think when I was just making things, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I didn't know who to compare myself to. I was making it. And I feel like even looking back at that, I was a lot more successful in whatever it was that I was doing because I was staying in my lane. I was very, I'm humbly don't know what's happening. And now it's weird. I find myself getting into these cycles of, I'm this old and I should be here and like this other person is there and like it's a combination of luck and skill and ambition and I should have like maybe I only have 2 of the 3 things, and I've been having conversations with my therapist about this, which is important because it's just it's a pretty useless emotion unless you're channeling it to make yourself a better person, but it's never great to be envious of people or
4 years of therapy, so
yeah. Hello.
hello.
Oh my gosh. I took for an aside, but I literally took my therapy session yesterday in a cafe that was so crowded because I just forgot because she's in America, so the timing was off. So everyone in South Bank knows about my daddy issues. And it's really, I took it up. I was like, thank you. And everyone was like, oh,
You okay?
you're okay. Sorry. It was really bad. Anyways.
He was just so good.
Right. And I'm just like, just a check. Thanks. But yeah, so it's something that I am processing in real time. But I also know that I have in the past tried not to be angry either at myself or other people. And actually, anger is an emotion like all the other emotions that you have to process. So instead of me being like, oh, I'm not really that envious or whatever, I'm not angry or I'm not disappointed, I'm just allowing myself to feel it and be like, okay.
Wow. Oh, amazing. It takes an incredible amount of strength, I think, to start, but also, commit to and continue with that whole journey. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm in it as we speak, so I'll keep you posted.
Oh, no, you don't have I'm delighted, but no pressure.
It's like when I'm 60, I stopped being envious, finally.
Well, I mean, I think it is, it's kind of a lifelong thing, really. I mean, I guess, but I mean, I have stopped, but stopped a number of years ago, having had some major revelations that sort of allowed my life to, I say continue, that sounds dramatic, but I was just severely depressed and couldn't pick up the phone and stuff like that. I keep telling this story on this podcast. People are going to be sick of hearing this. But yeah, and I've had many conversations with Stuart as well, which is how we know each other, about the fact that it's a daily battle.
It's a daily battle, yeah.
And not falling into default settings and making conscious different decisions about how you behave, or whatever it is, whatever your challenge is.
How do you, I don't want to make you repeat yourself, but how do you find yourself crawl out of the depressive state?
It's kind of a balance of giving it enough thinking time to turn it over sort of productively, rather than overthink, stepping into a situation where I'm overthinking and then it runs away from itself, and you just end up in a pit of a week-long I'm a piece of shit, and I hate everybody and everybody hates me. But if you don't sit and deal with the feelings and appreciate them and recognize that they're there and go, oh, it's you again, and just go, right, yeah, recognize you, but I'm just going to put you there,
Right.
and I'll deal with you before I go to bed.
Yeah.
But again, not allow yourself to sit on Instagram and just and doom scroll and all of that stuff, where it's actually just ruminating in the back of your mind,
Right.
and growing into something that then stops you from being productive as you so wish to be all the time, and you put all the pressure on yourself to be all the time. Where does that come from for you? Like, why? What drives you? Why do you feel you need to be productive all the time?
Well, I think that I guess the baseline is that I am first generation. My parents are Nigerian, immigrated here, wanted a better life. Here being America, wanted a better life for me. I'm the oldest of 4. I have 3 younger brothers, which means I'm the only woman, only girl, and I'm the oldest, which means I was a single mom, basically, by the time I was 10. And so already that means that a lot of things, plates are spinning and they have to function for everyone to function. And my mom was also, I have both of my parents, but my mom is just the way more active parent. And she prioritized education. Yeah, basically education, and going to great schools and great universities and just having everything there. And to this day, I still have stress dreams that I didn't study for a test. And I'll wake up and it feels so real. I can't even believe that I woke up and I don't have the Spanish test that I didn't study for.
Wow.
Which I should be unlearning, honestly. But I think I just, since I was 5, went to these schools that put so much pressure on us, and they were so competitive and everyone's competing, and there were small grades. I went to school for 8 years with only 20 other people in my grade, 25. And then I went to an all-girls school, like a private all-girls school for 5 years with like 60 of us, and then there's that pressure of being in an all-girls school and you're comparing yourself to everyone, not only just education-wise, just looks and popularity and, all those things. And so I think, yeah, I've just put a lot of pressure on myself from a young age. And now I'm at this point where I'm doing all the things that I would have loved to do when I was in high school and college, and
Because
really
you didn't get a chance because you had to grow up.
because I had to grow up. And now I'm being a total kid and going on stage and being an idiot and doing all these things. And even that, it's still like, okay, like the pressure of being an idiot on stage, like making sure that people are there or coming, and that I'm, being honest and vulnerable and everything, as opposed to, letting it just happen and be. So that's also something where I've had to remind myself I'm doing these things because they're fun. If they're not fun, I shouldn't be doing them.
Allowing yourself to have that fun. Yeah, that's That's vital. Sometimes I pause to reflect on my own. I can relate to. I'm the youngest of four, so I sort of have a different, which obviously changes things a lot. I mean, it kind of feels
Different.
like it shouldn't, but it does.
Honest.
You know,
Did you
big
like it?
time. Do I like it?
Being the
Being the
youngest?
youngest? Yeah, I like it. It's great. I
That's
mean,
good. It's
I do,
honest.
you know, I kind of feel like they figured it out by the time they got to me, kind of thing.
Totally.
So in that way, I feel like you got the brunt of it.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And now my youngest brother, my mom was like, I just want you to be okay. I just want you to be happy. I'm like, okay.
Me.
But me. I mean, I do. I also want him to be so happy, but it is so crazy the night and day.
I love this question because it's just a great question. And I think it's very relevant. In what areas of your life are you happy to be good enough?
In what areas of my life am I happy to be good enough? In what areas of my life am I happy to be good enough? The question is really simple and easy, and yet I kind of don't understand it. And that maybe is my own personal, that says a lot about me.
Well, because, productivity, I'm obsessed with productivity to the point that, I used to play video games as a teenager and now I don't because I just don't see any value in them. Maybe I've grown
Right.
up. I don't know.
Sure.
But it's kind of this idea that we're always pushing ourselves forward in every area of our life.
Right.
And as you were talking about, the pressure that
Right.
comes with, well, being the firstborn and
Right.
all of the other pressures that you've got on you from all aspects of life or many aspects of life. But are there any areas that actually being good enough is enough?
Being good enough is enough. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So I taught myself how to skate during the pandemic because I saw a TV show where girls were skating and I thought that was sick to see these girls shred. And I taught myself how to do it. And it was the first thing in a while that was a hobby that I was doing that didn't affect me or my career or anything. I was just doing it for me. I still don't know how to ollie or kickflip. I can't really do any tricks. I can't really go into moving traffic. I can't really do that much, but I can get on a skateboard and go on a path somewhere, wherever I want to. And I could just take that time for myself. And that was really cathartic for me to learn something for the first time in a while and not sometimes I'm reading a book, I'm thinking about the structure, I'm watching a TV show, I'm thinking about the character development, and I love doing those things, but it also feels like it's helping me with my personal agenda. But skating, I don't have any ambitions to be a great skater. I just can do it and I like it. And yeah, that's been a nice thing. Another hobby of mine, I love singing. I would actually say that that's my first love. And something I used to do, I used to be in an a cappella group in high school. And, I just love singing. And I also think that it's probably one of the most vulnerable art forms. And I started taking some lessons recently just because I wanted to kind of see what it would look like if I treated this as an instrument as opposed to just something that I enjoyed. And it was also something where I don't want to be Celine Dion or anything like that, but it was exciting to see that I could go from being decently to kind of maybe better and not any expectation of anything, but just learning a new instrument basically, but I just have it with me. And yeah, that's just been nice to do. And I sing to myself all the time. And I started singing in my shows. I always have a musical number that I break out in the beginning. And I used to be so, beat myself up. I remember my first show, I had to perform this Marvin Gaye song. I put it in the show. And I wanted to give a really great performance. And my friend who was helping direct it, she told me, "You're not here for American Idol. You're there to put on a show." She was like, "I want you to have your ass in people's faces. I want you to twirl around. I want you to be insane. Do not focus on your voice at all." And that was like the best advice someone could give me,
Wow.
because I could just enjoy singing and the performance of singing, as opposed to being like, did I sound too pitchy? Did I sound too, And I've been approaching it in that way and enjoyed it more with that. So that's been nice.
That's wonderful to hear. Like, just enjoying something for the sake of doing it is just, something so far removed from my brain.
I know, it's like, whoa.
But you have to kind of, I'm terrible at it, and you have to kind of catch yourself, and that's definitely something that I still need to learn how to do.
I know. You have to remind yourself you have free will, which is so... Sometimes I remember, I'm like, I could actually do anything right now. I could like scale the walls here or something. I'm not going to do it, but the fact that I could...
Cut to scaling the walls.
Me doing parkour off your ass. But I'm like, okay, free will is cool, so you might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah. When did you first realize you had that?
Free will. My instinct is when I was in school. I loved being the class clown. I'm sure I don't know. I'm not even going to psychoanalyze myself right now. But I would just love saying things and doing things. And I did one time, I was like way too old for this. I was probably 16. But like I had this whole thing where we were watching something and I was so bored and I physically like almost like lunged myself off the chair. And it was like, or no, I sank out of the chair really dramatically. Like, okay, this girl just wanted to be a theater kid and was in class. And to this day, my friends insist that I fell out of the chair. And they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you fell out of the chair." And I'm like, you guys don't understand. It's called being a performer and putting on a thing. And I just think about that because I would find little moments where people would be sitting and I'm like, I could just do whatever right now. And I would laugh and maybe somebody else would laugh. And I think that's always been something that I've had in school. And now I'm starting to find that, I guess that's still the inner child, the silliness in things that in my day to day. I think as well with being creative, sometimes you think there's a certain way to do things. Even with comedy, I was so hell-bent on, okay, being a stand-up comic, you got to be like, is this thing on? And what else do I got? People are like, what else? Like, what other jokes do I have? And then I was actually like, I could do whatever I want on the stage. So I started playing around with bits and doing a lot more, less even joke-focused comedy and more audience relationship comedy and lampooning myself and the idea of who I think I am, and which is what I learned essentially in clown. And so I guess in that way, clown has taught me a lot about free will too, because a clown is always, always getting excited, always looking around and seeing what else can be exciting. And they do things to please the audience, but also to please themselves, as opposed to coming up with a monologue or writing things out and being like, it doesn't matter, let me just get through this. And not to say that that's what stand-up comedy is, but it can be sometimes. So yeah, I would say that clown has helped me channel the free will in me and allowing myself to be bold in decisions that I make.
I've done a lot of voiceover work, and I work with a voiceover sort of teacher, does a course, and he tells me this story often of somebody that he used to work with because he was voiceover. You've got to make a fool of yourself in this industry.
Totally.
In order to find your own voice.
Totally. That's big. That's actually major.
Because if you can make a fool of yourself and you do that consciously, then also nobody can touch you really,
I think so.
because they can't push your buttons because there's no buttons to push.
Totally. You pushed all of them. Yeah. I think, it's always so admirable when I see a woman on any sort of platform being totally absurd, making a fool of themselves, because we're just taught you're constantly being seen through the male gaze at all times, regardless of your sexuality. Apparently, women or girls start seeing themselves through the male gaze when they turn 3 years old, when they look at the mirror for the first time, which is insane. So from the ages of 3 onwards, you're seeing yourself through somebody else's lens, which is chilling to think about. And so the power to have someone, especially, I mean, anyone, of course, but I'm thinking of Caitlin Olsen on It's Always Sunny. I don't know if you watch It's Always Sunny, but she is so absurd. The whole show, they make fun of her, they berate her, they call her all these different names. She completely is crazy insane about it. And whenever I watch her, I cry laughing, because she is just the ultimate absurd person, being in the middle of the town square, making a fool of herself. And I'm still trying to find that and refine that out. But you're right, it's very, very healing and freeing.
Wow. Amazing. Do you feel you live an ordinary or an extraordinary life?
I would say I live an extraordinary life under ordinary circumstances.
Right.
I would say that. I would say that I do a lot of things for the plot, for my own personal plot, whatever. And so I always find myself in random ass scenarios. Like, I don't know what I was doing there, that club, that rooftop, that facility. I don't know. But
That podcast.
like, what? It's just so random. But I love it. I think that every day, new opportunity to do something that surprises you. So I try to.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is extraordinary?
What is it? The definition of...
No, what is extraordinary about your life?
I don't know. What is extraordinary? I think for me, my extraordinary could be someone's very ordinary. So I'll say that. But I guess things that are unexpected will just happen. And I think that, I don't know it depends on, what you believe in or not even what you don't believe in. I would say that I'm a pretty spiritual person. I feel like everything happens for a reason. I feel like the universe is always giving you signs. And the more I opened up to those signs, the more freeing it's been to just let things happen. And then seeing the things that unfold when you have faith in things happening has been, I think, really sick, things that are beyond really any explanation. I'm trying to think of anything really specific, but yeah, I guess just having faith that things will work out even when I feel like they really won't always gets me every time. I'm like, oh, wow, actually that everything kind of worked out even when I was so afraid that it didn't, just when I sat back and I allowed myself to chill. Because I'll notice, like the law of attraction, and if I want something desperately, it never happens. But as soon as you let go and pump the brakes, it happens. It's crazy that happens. I think and it always happens. It's weird.
Wow. Just a shrug and a shrug. It's perfect.
It's crazy.
Oh, I need to take some of that on board. Yeah, I could definitely put the brakes on, couldn't I, Ben? No, you're fine. Yeah.
Oh, God.
What work would you do for free?
What work would I do for free? I feel like I would eat food for free all the time. I mean, I would pay, which I guess is arguably going to a restaurant. I guess
God, it's so much work eating
so
this
much
chocolate
work
cake.
and trying it. Like, food bloggers. I'm like, girl, just be happy you're even eating it. Getting paid to do that is crazy. I would love to do that. I would love to. What would I do for free? I think I would do. It's crazy that I'm not. It's not coming to me because I think I would do a good amount of things for free. I would. I mean, just talking. I would just talk to a group of people if I had to all the time. I think, yeah, that's for sure. Like being able to perform, like just having the opportunity to get those reps in, because even though everyone wants to perform and wants to get paid to perform, even the ability to perform at all, let alone getting paid to do it, can still be difficult to do so. So I want to do that as much as I can, And then when you get paid, that's lit.
Performance is about people watching you. Mm-hmm. Who are you when nobody's watching you?
When no one's watching me, I talk to myself, I sing, I go into some sort of existential despair, and then I find a TikTok, and then I cackle, and then I'm thinking constantly. I went on a solo trip to Lisbon last week, actually. So that's been very helpful for me because I've only been on one solo trip before, and I've noticed that my confidence just gets a lot better when you're spending a lot of time with yourself, because I wasn't really thinking too much about, oh, I'm disappointed in X, Y, and Z aspect. I was just like, almost weirded out by how little thoughts I had. Like the only thing I had to think about was what restaurant or bar I had to check out, if I wanted to go to the beach or if I didn't want to go to the beach. It felt very, Maslow hierarchy of needs. I'm like, am I fed? Am I hydrated? Okay, I guess let's just walk around.
It's so hard.
It's so hard, It's so freeing. I'm actually like not thinking about that much, or I'm thinking about everything. There's no in between. Yeah.
God, it's life. Mm-hmm. What sources of culture do you turn to get perspective on your everyday concerns? You talked a bit about perspective before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, first thing that comes to mind, unfortunately, recently has really been TikTok. It's really bad because the algorithm is set up, as you said, it's like the opposite of doom scroll. Everything I'm like, wow, that is every part of me, brick by brick. This is everything that I see. And then I had to take a break from that because who am I before TikTok? I mean, I like watching, I watch television. I want to say the news, but even that, I feel like I really go to like a New Yorker article or like HuffPost or The Atlantic, and I'll read something written by someone really with the words that I don't have. There's another girl named Zibe Blay. She's Carefree Black Girl online, I want to say. And I love the way she writes about just being a Black woman, about being a Black woman that suffers from mental health issues. I think I've always gone to her, and things that I never even had the words for, I'm like, okay, she laid that all out. That's amazing. She does this iconic Sunday mood board every Sunday, and she has stills of just Black people relaxing and enjoying themselves from all parts of culture, from, living color or like Insecure or just different parts of Black pop culture moments. And that's always been really nice to see. Just reminders of Black joy has been really great.
It's so great. It's so great when somebody just pulls the thoughts and just organizes them in a way that's just like, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know, it's a nice cup of tea. That used to also be kind of sort of Tumblr for me. Just going, I think the mood boards, things that even if there weren't words, just things that you felt, it felt very of the moment. And I was like, oh, that's how I feel. I feel like insert this brooding, angsty aesthetic or whatever. And then beyond that, just talking to my friends. And then I'm like, it's interesting because that's kind of, you're in your own vacuum of talking to your friends, but we'll go back and forth. Like we'll debate, and I love a debate. So
What work were you doing the last time you forgot time altogether?
oh, I love that. What work was I doing when I forgot about time altogether? Okay. Two things. One, if I'm singing, I'll do that thing where you record yourself singing and then you like watch it, or you like try to like sing different songs. And I can do that for so long. And I'm like, okay, it's 3 a.m. I need to stop doing this. But I love just singing different songs. I also, if I'm journaling, or a journaling that's getting into almost writing, I remember I journaled about the guy that love bombed me. That was end of 2022, and I just went at it. I like looked at the pages and I was like, oh wow, I just eviscerated this man on the page. And that was just nice. It was just like all of my thoughts racing and I just couldn't stop writing. I wish I could say something like going on a nice hike,
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I don't really hike though, to be honest. So I'll be honest. But I will go on a nice walk. I'll go on a nice walk and I'll just keep on roaming, and I'll listen to a podcast or a playlist of some sort. And that is nice when you only really know time is passing because the sun is setting. And I like that. Yeah.
I have 2 dogs,
Yeah.
so I do a lot of walking.
That's nice. Dogs keep you active.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah.
Wow.
Wish my nan wouldn't feed them so much, but that's a whole nother story altogether.
What are their names?
Nova and Nuno.
Nova
and Nuno. They're uncle and nephew, 5 years apart.
Shut up.
And
Italian? These are
Italian. No, you're right to say that. It's actually Nuno is actually Portuguese for grandfather. And I believe I had a great grandfather who was Portuguese, or there is some Portuguese in my family, and also here Nuno is the first name of my favorite guitarist.
Favorite guitarist.
Guitarist, yeah. So there you go.
Oh.
Nuno Betancourt.
Does he play in a band?
He used to play, well, he does still play in a band called Extreme, which was harking back to my teens. But then he did play for Rihanna for quite a while.
Oh, okay.
So there you go, when she had a guitar phase or something.
Sure.
Can't remember. He certainly toured with her.
Wow.
Alas. Last one.
Mm-hmm.
The pain is almost over.
No.
What do you wish people understood about you?
Such a good question. What do I wish? I wish that people understood, A, that I'm trying my best. That applies to everything. I am trying my best. And that I contain multitudes. And I don't want to be pigeonholed into being just this type of person or this type of person. If I one day want to host something and then the next day want to be completely behind the scenes, I should have the freedom to do that without having to be, pigeonholed as that. And and that my curiosity for people shouldn't be basically like I love talking to people, and that if I'm talking to you is because I like talking to you. And even if I'm talking a lot, I'm just get really excited, because sometimes I'll do that thing where I accidentally interrupt someone when they're talking, but it's because I'm almost too active of a listener. I get like too excited, and I'm like, I'm sorry if that's rude, and I will try better. So I'll try to be better at that.
Well, you've been talking to me, so hopefully that's a reflection of this hasn't been what has been good. But I mean, absolute pleasure to have you on, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And
really enjoyed it.
Super cool. You know, you're literally our first international guest.
Oh my gosh, this is such an honor.
So it's really brilliant.
Wow. No,
really appreciate your time, and so glad you've had such a great trip.